Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. They clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Yo, what is up? Daft's Punks in the building.
How's it going?
I got a question for you real quick. So it's been a week since our last episode. Have you thought of the taste of water yet and how to describe it?
As Victor put it, it's wet.
It's wet.
Man, tasty.
All right. You know what? We are still not sponsored by Liquid Death, sparkling mountain water straight from the Alps. And it's crazy because I say it every time, but we basically put this brand on our back and built it from the ground up, and they still have done nothing for us. They have done one single thing for us besides murder our thirst.
The taste is also refreshing. You know, that's wet and refreshing. Taste of water.
Yeah. You know what else I like?
No.
I like club cannons. I like turning my party up to 11.
Turn your party up to 11. We have Club Cannon. If you go reach out to clubcannon.com and let them know Drew and Fuse sent you, they will lace you up with the best product for your weddings. I use it at all my weddings. Highly recommend.
We use it at the club. It adds that extra element. Go get one. Also, in the description of the video below, there will be a link to Photo Booth Supply Company. If you're in the market for a photo booth, make sure you check that link out. It won't help you out any. It'll help the show out. But Drew says he'll give you a t-shirt, a sticker pack, and a high five. So,
wow. Up in the ante on these nice things that I'm giving them.
Totally. And make sure you're rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple podcast. It'll help grow the show exponentially. We need those rates. We need those reviews. We need you to subscribe on YouTube. We need you to hit the Quan. We need you to teach the Dougie. We need you to do all those things. It'll help us. Conga line challenges. Been getting a lot of conga line challenges. We've been getting tagged in all those still. If you're just listening and you haven't listened back to the old show, conga line challenge is when a conga line breaks out at your event. You're not emceeing to get it started, and you're not playing the conga line song. So make sure you tag us if that happens at your event. We love to see it. Also, use promo code Drew and Fuse Show to get 30% off your first month of activation. If you're not on direct music service yet, you're truly missing out. I don't say that because I work for them. I don't say that because this podcast is sponsored by them. I say that because it is the record pool that I use primarily for everything. I'm not saying you shouldn't have other record pools as well. We always preach that you should use other record pools too, but you should be on there. We've got exclusive edits on there, Drew and I. We've also got Daft's edits on there, Drew and Fuse Show edits. So if you see Daft's on direct music service, that is Drew and I. Yeah, that's gonna be it for the info today that I've got. What about you? Do you have any info for them?
I got no info. If you have ideas for some bootlegs or remixes, let us know.
Yeah, don't send us shitty ones though. Don't send us shitty ideas.
Oh,
like don't be like, yo, hit them with that new Mambo number 5 edit. Like we don't want to do that.
Go on the yellow line and call in your requests.
Yeah, that's right. Now we're gonna get 100 people that hit us up. Hey, you guys should make a Mambo number 5 edit. That's what's gonna happen.
Maybe we will, because you did that one, the blue one. So maybe we need some more of those in our life.
Yes.
So what's the number?
Yeah, 562-246 YOLO. That's the hotline. Make it bling.
We got a big guest today. Let's read this bio.
Read the bio. All right, let me read the bio here for you guys. He's a great guest. He has been in the game for over 20 years. Interesting fact, he was a b-boy for D-Light. Groove is in the heart.
We'll talk about that later, but one of my top songs, we all have these eras where songs like come into our lives, and that song still is like one of my favorite songs.
He was also a part of the group Defined Print, where their single My Library was used by ESPN X Games. He's held residencies all over including a residency in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. He's in the DC area now, and he's the official DJ for the Washington Nationals, DC United, and the Washington Spirit. Please help us welcome Stylus Chris.
Yo.
Hey.
What up? What up? Thank you
What
for
up?
the humbling intro.
Yeah.
For taking the time to be here with us today. We appreciate it. We know you're a busy guy.
I'm really happy to talk to fellow nerd DJs, and it's perfect to just kind of talk about this stuff and then go run and DJ. I feel like it's fuel in that sense, when you get to kind of nerd out with your buds about music and your perspective in life, and then you go to a party, you can hopefully take all the positive stuff you were talking about and put it right into action, which is why we do this, right?
Yeah. You got a busy weekend this weekend?
I do. I'm doing today I'm doing a charity at the Four Seasons, big charity event that they put on personally. So they're a big client of mine here. So I'm putting down on that with them. And then I'm doing a kind of fun wedding tomorrow at Union Station, which is the train station here in DC. And you can actually rent out rooms in it or rent out areas of it. And they can do some pretty amazing events inside. It's a beautiful building and right by the Capitol. So be there tomorrow. And yeah, man, I'm starting a kind of crazy, you guys were saying about sports. A lot of the sports stuff is wrapping up, but then all this other weird transition into deep into our fall season, into the holiday season starts. And we all try to find the juggle, the balance to make it all work.
Is your December big on corporate events?
Yeah. And this year, quite frankly, I think it's going to be the busiest in a long time because a lot of corporations didn't do any holiday parties the last couple of years, and they've just been sitting on that budget, and they feel like they have to come back and do something for only even the morale of their offices. Some people are still, if you think about it, they're still mostly remote, and that's kind of crazy to think, but DC being what the city is in itself is a very, tied to government and corporate world. And so they were already transitioning into this Flex Friday and kind of stay home once in a while in DC well before the pandemic. But then this just went to another level. And I think a lot of companies are going to try to use their holiday party to get people back together. So I've never seen this many bookings prior. And you guys probably know too, with holiday season, the bookings start coming in after Halloween passes. It's like
it's exactly when it comes in. As my December's already full, but I was just thinking, man, I haven't really got my calls yet for the rest of the month. All the weekdays start filling in.
Yeah.
And so now that you're saying that out loud, I'm now dreading life. So
the Wednesday, Thursdays of those first 3 weeks of December are, it's, I don't know. To me, I always feel like I judge where I'm at in my career as a DJ by December. Okay. If I'm not booked through if your December isn't like just kind of running upside down because you're so busy, you're not connecting, at least for me, the way where I want to be as a DJ. I'm not connecting right now with the people everybody's throwing a holiday party. It's the one time of year where you could literally be booked 20 straight days with a different holiday party and just get that bag and then relax in January, February, take time off.
I think it depends a little bit on where you live, though, just where the corporates are, because I do agree with you, but I judge that off my October, because my October is my nuttiest month of life. And so maybe the last couple holidays just haven't been that good. So maybe
they haven't been
off. Yeah.
Nobody did them. Most of it was still in bad form to have a holiday party last year, and especially in 2020. No way.
Yeah.
So this is the first year that people are like, okay, we can do this again.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. It is very much about where you live.
Yes, definitely.
I don't do as many corporate and mobile type stuff, but even November and December for me is always busy with just all kinds of random stuff pops up. We have private parties at the bar for work party, and it's super busy always. If I look at the numbers for my year, it's always November and December are always busier, even money wise, just than the rest of the year for me.
Are you still mostly in the clubs and bars?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't do a lot of weddings or private events or corporate events?
Only a couple a year usually. I
Are you
just
also on the promotion side too? Are you like kind of facilitating the whole thing, doing your own flyers and really like your own branding and
yes and no. So to kind of, I'm sure everybody that's listens is sick of hearing my story, but
I
uh,
I'm trying to hear it.
no, no, I know.
Anybody that knows you that maybe not know wants to know. We want to know.
Uh, um, so pre-pandemic, I worked for one company in town, and they owned like 13 bars. Coming out of it, I work for another company. It's a friend of mine. He owns a club and then a bar, and then I play Friday nights at the bar and Saturday nights at the club. And pre-pandemic, I was just doing. I was like 5 and 6 nights a week, and now I just basically do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's awesome. uh, I do a lot more stuff for DMS now. I still do stuff for the app Fit Radio. We're opening a third location here soon. Well, I shouldn't say soon. In the next 6 months, I'll have a lot to do with that. So that's kind of what I'm transitioning to. I've done some wedding stuff, and I have done a lot of weddings over the years. It's just kills my soul every time I do them. It's just I don't know how else to say it other than like it's just not for me. I don't enjoy it. I love the money that comes with it. It's not for me.
Totally understand that.
So I've just shifted and I'm going a different direction to, to make the ends meet and try to level up each year. That's always try to do is beat the prior year.
Yeah, and I think what is interesting and DJs of a certain age are really the first generation to start at a certain point in their career and actually get to like midlife and still be doing it. And well, so you might get to a point where you have drank yourself into oblivion, partied so hard you look like you're 70, you hit 40 and you're like, no one wants you to DJ at their clubs anymore because you're out of touch or whatever. And like now you're like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm basically going to be an insurance salesman or something because I've lost any chance at anything. Or you've started at this point and you were like, hey, this is great, and I want to figure out how to sustain this in a logical profession. And DJing as a profession is not very old. It's a baby as compared to other professions. And hip hop in general is a baby in terms of culture and music. And like, we're just getting to a point in life where you look at somebody that's 50 years old and they're still a hip hop person, and you're like, that's not a big deal. Where when we were younger, that seemed ancient and like how could they be in hip hop culture anymore? It seems so weird. Like you see DJs, like none of them could sustain into like their 40s, 50s and still like pull in the youth. It's like if you can't talk to the youth, it's going to be very hard to sustain being a DJ. But when you balance that with figuring out other ways to stay in the music, make edits, consult, do all these different projects, then you can do whatever your actual DJ gigs are and still find joy in them, find passion in them, find the way to like be your best every night. I always tell a young DJ, if you have a pit in your stomach dreading to go to that gig, that needs to be the last night you do that gig.
Yeah, it's great advice.
Regardless of the money. It could be your most successful gig that pays you the most. I guarantee you it's hindering you, and it's going to, in the long term, be a deterrent to your path and your career and your mental state. And I've always taught myself that is like, there's no gig worth feeling like miserable to show up to it. DJing should be about joy and happiness and providing that to other people. And you cannot fake that. I don't care how we'll try.
It'll translate. It'll definitely translate over to the audience that you're dreading being there and you hate your life. So
I even noticed like myself, now that I'm only doing the minimum stuff on the weekends. Before it used to be like I'd get to Friday and the bar would be half full and I'd be like, whatever, I'm just fucking off, doing whatever in there. But now I'm like trying my hardest to like keep it going and like, because I'm still like happy to be there now. So I think just it's great for my mental state to be just doing that. Like 3 gigs a week is like the sweet spot. I think
I agree.
Any more is like too much, and I think any less is kind of like you're not doing enough. So
then you start to feel the FOMO. I think that's what we all go through when you're at that. I think all of us as successful DJs have had those points in our life where we're 5-6 nights a week DJing all the time. And on Saturdays you might do 3 gigs in a day, especially if you do other types of DJing like sports and and things like that. It's like I can count several times when I was just chasing money no matter what, where do a baseball game, do a wedding, and then end up at a club all in the same night, and just like how sustain, and then wake up, at 8 in the morning to take my daughter to school or whatever it is the next day, so it's not sustainable in the long run. And we're not going to be able to keep yourself in a point of being the best DJ you can be artistically and professionally if you're thin. And I think, again, being that DJing is a younger profession, and all of us are kind of to a point figuring it out as we go along, and how to make it work. The most important thing is, how do you value your time, and how do you get others to value your time the way you do, to where you can get to a point where what used to be the same amount of money you made for 5 gigs, you now can make in 3 gigs because you've done this long enough. And like, I don't understand, maybe it's a little changing now after the pandemic, but like, at least in my experience, the standard scale of DJ income has not kept up with inflation at all. Like, I mean, the 500 Saturday night gig has been 20 years going, where everybody else in their job, not only inflation goes up, but as an individual that works in a profession, you should be, at least if nothing else, getting cost of living increases in whatever job you're doing, whether you have to create them on your own, or the venue is like, hey, we'll give you that extra $25 a week. It ends up making, a lot of, makes up the difference.
Totally. I think that it's crazy. Like, I feel like the pandemic's changed a lot of things, and there are a lot of people that are still chasing, and instead of being secure in their position, I feel secure with what I do. Like, like, I'm like, if somebody better is gonna come along and get it, then great. But I don't think that's gonna happen. And I think there are so many guys that are still out there fighting for gigs and doing even less. I don't gotta bring or I gotta bring gear to this gig, and I'm still gonna only get paid this much. Well, okay, just because I want to be playing this gig, and I'm not about that. If I gotta do more work, there's gonna be more pay. If they choose somebody else, cool. That's not for me. Like, I feel like at this point where I'm at, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm sure you feel that way too. And it's like, if you don't want me, cool. That's
Yeah, no hard
perfectly
feelings.
fine.
No hard
Yeah.
feelings. Maybe next time, Are you still in Cincinnati? Or are
I
you?
am. Yep.
Yeah. And as I guess big city, air quote, that DC is, it's really a small city. And it's also a very segregated city in the way that not only the transientness of people that only come here for like their mindset is, I'm here only on this 2-year government job, or I'm doing a 2-year internship with blah senator, blah congressman, and their affiliation their mind is already halfway always in another area, like I'm from Minnesota or whatever. And so, they're never going to care what the trends are, what's happening, what the hot news spot is in DC. Their mind is just not there. So in a lot of ways, there's the same kind of thing of, these different cities of trying to compete for the same block of real estate and people. And you can feel the changes. Like when college is in town in DC, it's wild. This is one of the, I think Boston and DC have the most college students per capita per radius of like concentrated area, and it's like, so you can feel when the college kids go away for the summer or go away on winter break, like July and August, between the college kids being gone and then all of the government agencies that shut down in August. It's like a great time to come to DC if you want to like move around the city and see things, because it's like half the city is asleep or not here. And but like at the bar, if you can't knock it the first 2 months, you're never gonna knock it. It will never happen.
Totally. My brother actually lives in the DC area, so I'm kind of familiar with DC. I've probably been up there just as much as I've been anywhere else. I don't want to say vacation, because it's not a vacation really when I go up there, but
That's good. Yeah, no, next time you come through, man, if you want to come play at a spot, it'd be fun. Heist is as we're on this podcast, Heist is opening up in a couple weeks, and That's like one of the kind of DJ spots that's always been known to be, one of the most fun. You never know like who's going to be in there. It's very small and intimate. And
I played a spot up there way. It's probably been like 8 or 9 years at this point, but it was called Lima.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I played there. I played in their lounge room upstairs, and then
Yep.
I played in the main room downstairs one
Downstairs.
time. And the way it worked out, it was like the most random thing ever because that night I played downstairs. They did like the promoters in DC Glow, I think
Oh
at
yeah,
the
yeah,
time
yeah, yeah.
did
Yeah,
the
they're
Thursday
huge.
nights. And I'm pretty sure they had a Avicii that Thursday that played, and then I played Friday, and then Fetty Legrand played Saturday, or if it was
What?
flip flopped. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
sounds
That was
right.
like one of the things where I wish I kept the 3-day flyer because it
Yeah,
would have been
I
right.
like,
say.
and I didn't think anything. And Avicii wasn't like that big I don't
Right.
think Levels had came out yet.
Secret
So
Romance was the only thing that had been out at that point when he was there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you
I
did
mean,
that 3-day.
well, and that's the thing, like with DC in general, the positives of all this transientness and these quick arrivals is fashion or culture or food. It all is influenced in these random ways of this movement, of this like new generational Silk Road, so to speak, of how people move in and out of DC. And in the late mid 90s, this place was on fire with like the rave scene and the hip hop scene and go-go and like West Indian reggae and like there was something for everybody here and it was all moving fast. And those guys, the Glow guy like Pete and Antonis, those guys were throwing kind of more European house parties back in the mid 90s, where I was throwing basement warehouse style hip hop house drum and bass. There'd be a drum and bass room, there'd be a hip hop room with like breakers and freestylers, and then there was a house room slash speed garage room with Armand Van Helden and like, that whole sound of, the mid late 90s. And there you would have all these like rave kids, hip hop kids, club kids all in one spot. And then that we always looked at them as the more like it was like the college kids, the AU students that were driving Lamborghinis and shit like when they're 20 years old. And they were a combination of like a lot of the European kids and the Middle Eastern kids and the college kids. And they started bringing all these, I mean, they were the first people to bring Tiesto to America, they
Wow.
were on the forefront of all of it from the beginning. And they own, they went up into the Echo stage was what they, ascended to. And I don't even know if they're still partners. And I think like one of the big companies snatched it up, but like they started Echo Stage and all these venues. And, saying when you were like, Avicii to me to Fetty Legrand, it's like it sounds completely on par. That's exactly what they would do. They would bring these DJs to town that you're like, wow, I can't believe that. I remember when they had that David Guetta way before David Guetta was David Guetta. It's like, or going to see David Guetta play at Fur when they did a party there, and it's like a 2,500 person club on like a Tuesday night till 4 a.m. and he was actually like rocking this shit, like well before the super fame. So
yeah, the night I played upstairs there in like their lounge, Anthony Italia was playing on like the main club in the basement there. Dude, that was a pretty cool room, that basement club that was like
it was
small
sound was
and neat.
bumping too.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty neat. It
Yeah,
was it was fun to play there. DC such a like like you kind of already said, just a melting pot of a city. So you get a lot of different whatever, and I just felt like those nights that I played there, like I could really hit a lot of different stuff, and people were enjoying it.
it will expose the weakness of a DJ. DC, it will lift up a DJ that can figure out any crowd at any point. I think that's why like the Vegas guys will always do well when they come to DC because it's the same thing. Like you don't know what you're going to get on any given night, and you have to work with whatever's in front of you and figure them out and have the range to go in so many directions. And you could play the same club every Saturday night in DC, and sometimes the crowd could be totally different, and you might skew one direction or another depending on depending on who's there. And like, you know, so some guys will come to town and completely not figure it out. And then other guys will come and then they'll figure it out and they'll have so much fun doing it. They'll be like, hey, can I come back? You know, when can I get back?
Yeah.
Totally. Well, with that being said, that's kind of getting into some of our questions we have for you, and we got a rapid fire segment. I'm gonna play this segment video, and then we're gonna get started with some rapid fire questions that usually don't end up being so rapid fire. So here we go.
Hey, this is the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Drew and Fuse, let's talk questions. In fact, let's do some rapid fire. Now, I know these rapid fires aren't always so rapid fire, and that is okay by me. I got nothing but time. Now, let's look at the man in the mirror and get started.
Woo!
All right, the king of pop, Michael Jackson. He recorded that one for us a while ago, probably
Yep.
many years ago. Before we even knew we were getting the show started, he recorded that for us. So our first rapid fire question we got for you: is there anything that you're currently listening to that you're really feeling these days? And that doesn't even have to be music. It could be if you're into podcasts or whatever, just anything that you're listening to. If you're in the car,
Or
driving,
even DJ
whatever.
related. Doesn't have to be
Yeah.
DJ related. Something you're just feeling.
I feel like right now, what I'm feeling, I go through these kind of seasons, and I've just been on just a jazz kick of late, just jazz all day in the car. It's very calming. It's also, you know, my daughter goes to Duke Ellington School of the Arts here in DC. She's a freshman.
That's
And so
awesome.
she's in an art school all the time. She played trumpet for 6 years, and my son loves jazz. So it's actually a nice, peaceful way to go to school in the morning and to fight traffic. And, you know, for me, it's one of our, you know, if anybody out there has never seen the Ken Burns documentary on jazz, you need to put that in your life and really take into account how jazz is really one of the only things America has truly created, that, and it's the derivative of all of our music, and it's the base.
Any favorite artist?
I mean, always a Coltrane kind of guy. I definitely love any of the Marsalis brothers. Younger guy that's amazing to me is Joey Alexander. He might be like 14 years old right now, but he's already been on the stage since he was like 9. And when I mean savant, like we're talking like Mozart kind of savant of music, but for jazz. And yeah, I love certainly some of the newer guys too.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Do you have a favorite remixer or producer? And that doesn't have to be in the DJ world, just in music in general.
Oh man, that is good. I mean, favorite producer of all time, I would say, is Premier. Just from where that comes from. Favorite remixer, producer / DJ of all time for me is close to my heart because he kind of taught me a bit about it, was Armand Van Helden.
Well,
You know, when I was in New York as a young kid, you know, I was fortunate that Armand's also a b-boy. He's a b-boy at heart. And we would go to Sound Factory Bar on Wednesday nights, Little Louie, Kenny Dope, and all the Strictly Rhythm Underground Network, Barbara Tucker, all those amazing dancers and early house DJs. And that was just like the meeting point every Wednesday, which is also why I've always done my own personal parties on Wednesday, because of how much that party affected me. And Armand he's the one that brought me there. He's the one that introduced me to everybody. He's the one that told me about phrasing, teaching me about, you know, if you're going to get into this game, first thing to do is to start remixing songs people know, or you make edits of songs people know. Then you can make remixes. Then you can make your own stuff. Like he, as a young 20-something, had already had the formula, and, you know, his SP 1200 and you know, Todd Terry style DJ producer, and, you know, so for me, he's certainly my
that's amazing person
Yeah.
to look up to. That's great. For some of the younger guys, and even this might be a little outdated, but he's half of Duck Sauce with A-Track, so he's still pushing some great shit out these days, and he's still playing all the time.
Yeah, no, and he's like, you know, to me, one of those guys that, you know, like I said, he took me under his wing as a young hip hop kid, wanting to be DJ kid, and just never did anything but show love, and just pretty much open my eyes to that you can do this for in a serious way.
Love that answer. Great.
What is the best non-curse word, one word insult?
This is going to be very it's easy one for me, but it's very regional. It's Bama. In DC, you call somebody a Bama like that. He's a Bama. That's a bad one for this area. Yeah.
When would you use it? What does it mean?
Yeah. Can you
It's
use
anything,
it?
it's any of it, all of it. It's like saying shit. It's like you can use it for 40 different things, but like, that Bama's always late. Like that Bama never pays me back on time. That like it's always it's.
We have not had that. That's amazing. I love that.
Well, this is a very DC, like this started for me, at least when I remember in elementary school. It came around. It's been, and it has stayed in the DC culture for 30 years now at this point. I guess whatever that is.
What is a DC area go-to food spot that you could really only get in that area?
I mean, the obvious choice would be Ben's Chili Bowl. And if you've never been to Ben's Chili Bowl and you come to DC, you have to come to Ben's Chili Bowl, because not only is it Black-owned, operated, and Mama Ali is still here with us. Ben passed away a few years ago, but it's family run. And during the MLK riots,
I think Fuse is battling you with his Skyline Chili cup right there.
I thought he was just really thirsty.
He's battling you. There's a call
I
out.
heard
right
the
here.
word chili, and
all right,
I'm like, oh.
fair point. So that's okay. So when you come to DC next time, A, you're getting a gig. B, we're going to Ben's Chili Bowl, and I'm gonna call Nizam and be like, I'm bringing a very special chili aficionado. We need the super special chili. But that's special because one thing, during the MLK, on a serious topic, when MLK was assassinated and U Street burned down, I mean, U Street, all the jazz clubs, everything cultural, everything important of U Street was destroyed in those fires and the riots, except for Ben's Chili Bowl. Everyone was like, nothing, nobody can touch Ben's Chili Bowl. And and it stayed the only thing that really survived through that whole time. So it's a special place, more than just the food.
Not so serious. If we do go, can we not go before the gig? Because we were just having Victor on the last episode, and there was an amazing story, but that had a lot to do with
I could only
had a lot to do with running to the bathroom during your gig. So when you go get chili, it's probably going to be in the morning or like early afternoon,
late night, baby. That's one of the
afterwards is fine.
Yes, I mean, and that's the thing is, at least when I don't really try to as much anymore, but when you're in your 20s and early 30s DJing nightclubs, of course you're drinking, having fun, and there's nothing like hitting Ben's at like 3:30 in the morning for a chili dog and some fries and making sure that it soaks up all the alcohol that you drink.
Well, we're making a trip, Fuse.
Yeah, totally. All right, we want to hear a crazy DJ story. This will wrap up our rapid fire, but we're looking for a crazy DJ story, a night from the DJ booth. It can be a horrible memory, it can be a great memory, it can be both if you got multiple or whatever.
I mean, so many years I've been doing this, and this could go 1,000 different directions, but I'll say one that I think is a very interesting one for me. And it's one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life. And it was it very much became a rock or a pillar of what I know that I can put myself through. But my best friend committed suicide in front of me. If you guys want to really think about that for a second. Sorry to go that route, but it's real.
I've had it happen as well, but not in front of me. So it's close to home. I get it.
Yeah, it happened too. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm in good company then. So yeah, I mean, best friend who owned the record store with me and took his life, and I went and DJ'd then without sleep pretty much from the whole scenario it was a Thursday night, and I did my Friday night gig. And I rocked that gig, and I realized in that moment that that's DJing for me is more than just this thing that I think I like it because I popular. You think you like it because you can make money at it. It's your oxygen. It is the way that
Yeah.
you live, and through the good, through the bad, it encompasses for me an identity side of me of where I can always find comfort. I can find comfort in music. I can find comfort in getting lost in what is the air traffic controller version of our world. Like we are out there moving at the speed of light all the time with not many breaks. And that was a positive thing because it kept my mind off of it. And it was
Right.
certainly medicinal in that point. So yeah, for me, that was like also, it's a very memorable moment in the sense that it allowed me to get through that initial like real rough thing I was going through. So
Yeah. No. Um, I I can relate to that a lot. I even, my wife had our only daughter, and the hospital kicked me out, and I had originally had a sub that night, and I went and DJ'd, and it was similar, So happy moments, sad moments, yeah, I could get you through it.
that's it. That's it. And we were talking about before, like where, you can't do a gig if you're like not happy or you don't want to be there. And even though we're sad in the moment, and maybe you are going through some stuff, like that's never to say that you can't go crush your gig.
Right.
There's a difference
Yeah.
between being like, I don't want to be here, and my life is so tumultuous right now that the only place I feel serenity is at this gig. That's a totally different scenario.
Right.
I
And,
agree.
and that's where it's like, to me, that's where, like I said, that's the oxygen that we find our space in on this planet, the gravity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. We were talking with Victor last, and one of the things that I even was saying to him was like, for me, and I know for you guys, it's probably exactly the same. I know for Drew it is, and I'm sure just based on this conversation that it is. It's like this is my life. This DJing is my life. Like this is what I do. It's what it has consumed me. It has become my whole life. It's like the first love of my life, and it probably will always remain that number one priority in a lot of ways, And so with that being said, like I don't have any hobbies really, So this is what I was saying to Victor, like it's just consumed what I do, and every aspect. Sure, we have different lanes that we go down. I think we were referenced Victor because he's made some mixtapes that like he just put out that were just for him, and I'm like, yeah, because that's kind of like your hobby within the DJing. Is like, hey, I did this one for myself, and sure, I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there, but this one was for me because I enjoyed doing it, and like, but yeah, it consumes me, and I feel the same. Like if something bad happens, like, well, at least you can go to the gig and do your thing, and that it's gonna be a good night, and you
It's
can
North
control
Star.
that good night. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a North
yeah,
Star for us that do it like seriously and do it with purpose, and that's, to me, that's what I always try to teach younger DJs. When, I think you guys probably get this question all the time, and where it's just like, hey, what do I got to do to be a DJ? And
No, I laugh. I laugh because uh, everything we just talked about in the last 10 minutes, like you can't teach that. You could
no,
teach,
no,
you could teach a
no.
basic, but you
Yeah,
can't teach the
well, and
love.
that's the funny part is they're like, "Hey, teach me how to DJ," or like, they wanted to learn how to DJ. That's why I started a DJ school, was because so many people kept asking me to learn how to DJ, and you're like, "All right, well, I'll start a school." But when we would teach, the first thing I would ever teach people was, if you don't have an obsessive love for music, you are not
Right,
going to be a good DJ.
right,
Not. It's impossible. I mean, and
yeah,
I'm not talking that you love music. I mean that you are obsessively in love with music, because that's where you're going to spend so much of your time, whether it's playing it or discovering it or editing it or manipulating it into a crate or building a set, whatever it is, you are going to spend so much of your time with music. And if you don't really love it, you will burn out on it. You will genuinely burn out on it. And we see a lot of guys that we know that have come up and were like great DJs or, you know, just had a trajectory and then they fall off or they just like, I can't do it anymore. It's because they burn out, you know, they burn out. It's a difference between people that are,
I know ones now that I'm like, I can't wait till you burn out because you're fucking making us look like fools out here. So, you know what I mean? Like,
well, you know, they say the brightest star usually burns out the fastest. So,
or the ones that can be frustrating, and some are a little too obsessed with the business aspect of it and not the actual love of it. And I think that's a frustrating point for me where it's like, yeah, we're making money at it, and that's awesome, but it can't just always be the money. It's got to be the love. And
well, they give us the like real like Drew does tons of private events, but to me, he's still like a DJ first, you know, and the business is like the second, you know, and I'm sure it's you're the same, like you're a DJ first, and that's and to get the things that you've gotten and Drew has gotten in your careers, like you have to be a DJ first, because my friend Tony once said you can look cool being a DJ or you can be cool by being a good DJ. And it's like, if you want to, you take the harder route of learning how to be a good DJ first, like the rest will come. And I just think that a lot of guys try to skip that step and then it shows big time. And yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of tired of it.
we need that quote as a shirt. I like that.
Yeah.
That quote.
Daft's original.
We know we want to keep this pushing a little bit, so you got to go. But I'm fascinated by, you know, and you kind of led into this with the Armin story, but how you became a b-boy for Delight. You know, I was telling Fuse earlier. He's like, "Really, you like Grooves in the Heart? That's a song for you." And I was explaining as when I was. For me, it hits a point when my mom used to drive me to school, and that song used to come on like every hour, and I just still love that song to this day because it just reminds me of I could tell you exactly the point of the freeway that I'd be on when it would come on, you know. So I still love that song. I play it. I got a new remix of it. It's kind of refreshed it. And I play it all the time. I still play it.
I mean, at the essence, it's Herbie Hancock. So it's like another person I like to listen to a lot in jazz. And you know, that song in itself is one of those songs where if you were around when it came out, you know exactly where you were, you know exactly what the clothes were in style at the time. You can smell like the cafeteria at school when that song comes on. It's like, that's where music is powerful and amazing, is if the songs that affect you like that, you can transport to wherever that time was in an instant. You can pretty much, like, all the sensories open up to that. And there's not too many things in life that can do that, you know? And I feel like for me, in that discovery was more like just being in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and very fortunate and dumb luck to a degree. But as I was telling you guys, like, when I pretty much started going to clubs as a 15-year-old, sneaking into clubs, and mostly you would sneak into like the big clubs in DC where they had like already an 18 and up night, and so you could kind of fake it, and as long as they knew they never caught you drinking, they would just be like, whatever. And when you're a dancer, a b-boy, you get a little bit of attention, so like some of the security guards would start to know who you are. Next thing you know, they introduce you to like one of the promoters or managers. And I was 16 years old getting like $2 a flyer for how many flyers I could get people to come to the club, and like rolling up in my mom's Caravan. If she knew where it was parked, oh Lord, oh my God. You're like packing like 10 of your friends into her Caravan, parking it in Southeast DC, and like the cut, paying the homeless dude $20 to beg that he doesn't have somebody break into your car. And then you're like rolling into this club like 20 deep, like, yeah, we're here, like a bunch of freaking juniors in high school, like walking into a club like we owned it. It was so stupid. But that was my life as a high school kid. And like in those, especially in those early 90s, mid 90s, it was like b-boys and dancers. That was like a big spectacle in the club. And like, it was kind of where I guess I found that joy. I've always been a performer since I was young. I was always in theater. I was always on stage, and so that was just like another element for me. I grew up with hip hop. I didn't grow up as a DJ or a MC or a dancer or a graffiti. It was just like that's hip hop, and you had to do it all. And if you couldn't do it all, you weren't hip hop. And that was just like it was as pretty simple as that. It's like, let's see your tag, let's see your windmill, let's see your freestyle. Get on these turntables, beatbox, do it all. Like if you can't do it all, you're not a hip hopper. And so for me, it was like seasons of life that one of these things I used to love doing, I'd get some recognition for or whatever. But for me, my foundation is in that, and they weren't separate. It was just what you did. And to flash it forward a little bit, I started doing these bus trips where I would hook up with different promoters in New York or in the rave scene, and you'd organize a bus trip. You'd pay for like a charter bus. You'd throw everybody on the bus from the DC, Baltimore area, and you'd bus them up to a warehouse, and then the bus would bring them home. At least they get home safe, right? It's like, you got 50 kids on a bus that are all doing God knows what, and they're getting home that night because the bus driver was asleep in the parking lot of this warehouse in Brooklyn, and so I was at one of these events, and I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around, it's Lady Miss Kier, and she was like, "Hey, I like watching you dance, and I'm going to put together a video of like a whole bunch of cool dancers, and you want to be in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds fun." And I gave her my beeper number, throw her my beeper number. Like, yeah, hit me on the box. And then she hit me up and was like, "Hey, Dimitri's coming to Baltimore, and he's playing this rave, and do you want to film? Just like, I just want to film dancing around with you and stuff." I was like, "Yeah, it sounds fun." And so like she had her film company come, and like we were just dancing and having fun. And then that's all it was. And it was like, "Peace, see you later." I didn't think anything of it. I was like, "Cool, that was fun." I'm like 17 or 18 years old at this point. So to me, it was just like, you're just geeking out that you're this really hot 30-year-old woman who's like, wants to dance. And you're like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then flash forward to another event, and they were like, "Hey, we were in a car. They just like put me in this car at this festival, and they were like, "Do you want to just move to New York and move in with us? And you can start like choreographing songs. We'll pay you X amount of dollars to choreograph songs, and that should give you enough money to like get your own apartment." And she was always flat, like straight up from day one with me of like, "You're not going to be rich. I can give you some money to get started. Then you're going to have to find a job because we're not going to go on tour for a while, and you're going to have to work, and you're going to have to live. And I can't really afford to pay you to rehearse. But then once we get on tour, I'll pay you right." And everything she said, she did to the T. She taught me so much about the business side of being an artist. And like I said, it was just really fortunate, really in the right place, the right time, and just kind of progressive steps. And of course, at the time it was like, there was never a question of whether I was going to do it. It was like, of course I'm going to do it. And that was always my goal in life anyway, was I wanted to live in New York, so.
Is there any video of this now, or?
Yeah, man, you can Google a lot of YouTube videos of like early Moonrise festivals and stuff. The video. So obviously I wasn't on tour with them during Bruise in the Heart tour, because I was still in high school at that point. But I was on the Dewdrops in the Garden tour, which is the third album tour. And we did a video, Picnic in the Summertime, I think is the name of the video that lives out on the ether. And then, yeah, there's like some random tons of like footage of our tour that year, like 94, I think it was, of like, stage shows, like people just like really bad filming, obviously like video cameras of YouTube's. Yeah, it's fun. I don't really like, throw it out there that much, because it's like, it's a long time ago. I can't do any of that shit anymore.
How long were you in New York for that?
Like 2 years or so. Like, I moved up, and then we practiced. I mean, we practiced and put together our show for about 8 months, as they were working on the album. And then we went out on the road, and then we toured for like a year or something like that. And then,
Are you wearing like sunglasses in this video?
no, I don't think so. I was a dancer. I mean, I pop up in time to time. If you're looking at the Picnic in the Summertime video, I'm wearing like a Russian hockey jersey.
Okay, I see it. I'm looking at it now. That's amazing.
Funny story about that song. It had Roy Ayers. The original version of it had Roy Ayers sample "Everybody Loves the Sunshine" in it, and the label wouldn't let him clear it, and so then they got Ani, who was the DJ on that show. His dad was a jazz musician. They rented a Fender Rhodes and had his dad come in and replay shit, and that one just ended up on the record, which is dope.
That's
Wow.
crazy. That's wild. One of the things we wanted to talk to you about is some new tech. If you're cool with that, I can play a segment video. We could talk some new technology that you love.
Hey, C3PO here. Drew and Fuse, I hear you love technology. What are some new gadgets you guys love? Oh no, R2, stop being so foolish. Let's hear about your new tech. Time to go. Master Luke needs me.
Now that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
It's so bad. It's so good.
It's amazing. That was fantastic.
Yeah. So, any new tech that you're loving right now? It could be anything, any technology that you're into right now.
I'm loving the Serato Beta. Obviously,
Oh.
I've been putting that thing to use, not in public, but there's a lot of ways you can put that to use. Quite frankly, I've been taking tons of like Iron Maiden and metal and taking out the vocals and just having badass instrumental heavy metal songs to use during. I also DJ for NASCAR, so I've been putting together. This week is the championship in Phoenix, and so we've been putting together like beds of things for the driver intros and for segments, and like just creating instrumentals of Rage Against the Machine that you never had before, and just different stuff. That tech has been so fun to use.
I have a question. What computer are you using? Because I do have some friends that mentioned they only had 8 gigs of RAM and their computer was having issues with it. What's your specs on this, and are you having any kind of crashing or success with it?
This is great. So I guess this is also another part of the tech. DJs. Go to the Apple Store. If you are a legitimate business and you actually are a business person that DJs and have the ability to show that to them, there's no point to ever buy another computer ever again. You just go to Apple, you set up a business account, and you lease your computer. I am leasing
Really?
2021 M1 MacBook Pro. The specs on this are, let's see.
You got to tell us the pricing on this too, because
We gotta go the specs for. Okay, so it does. It does
I have
a
a business account, but
It does have a 4 terabyte solid state in it. It has 64 gigabytes of RAM,
right.
Oh my
and
God.
it is the highest model that they put out. I
It's
think
the Incredible Hulk. I get it. Yeah, it's a beast.
of the 2021 model. Yeah, the
He
2020.
opens it and it turns green and it rips out of its shell.
The battery life on this thing is unbelievable.
Oh, I have one, and it's just game changing.
Yeah, we both are on M1s.
Yeah, and yeah, the 4 terabyte. I think all in, including the Apple Care, was like $5,800 or something.
Right.
I pay $143 a month on a 3-year lease, at which
3-year lease.
at the end of that lease, you can buy it out in one lump sum. You can give it back to them and get the newest one and just restart, or you can keep going for one more year and then it's yours. You just keep paying your $143 a month for another 12 months and then it's yours. And it's cheaper than my cell phone at this point.
But you can't get it earlier than that. I mean, it's amazing. I'm not questioning your
even
thought
need all
process. I'm a nerd where I want to get a new computer every 2 years.
Well, you could do that. You just have to pay a little bit more.
Gotcha.
And do a 2-year lease. It's just like a car. I will never buy a car again, and I'll never buy a computer again. I lease both, and it's just, to me, it's a line item on.
Yeah.
You just have to account for in life, and for us as DJs, you cannot not have. It's so dangerous to not have the biggest and best computer, and 2 of them.
While we're talking about this, I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, DJ Sickness. He listens all the time. He went out and he's buying an M1 because he listens and he heard Drew and I preaching about it so much. And so if you guys don't think it's affordable to buy one, you can do the lease option here, or he's buying a refurbished one off of I think it's eBay. He's buying it from Mac Apples, which they have 100% feedback on eBay, 100% positive feedback. He's getting a 2020 M1 chip with 16 gigs of RAM and a terabyte solid state drive for $1,049.
I mean,
So I mean, if you're a DJ and this is something, if you're a working DJ and you
I think
work
that's a
every
minimum.
weekend, yeah, you need to go out, and there's no excuse for your fucking shit to be crashing these days.
no. And to your point, if you're calling yourself a professional, you have to have professional grade gear. And and that's not to say that you can't find a Windows machine, because I know a couple guys that use like some really high intensity gaming machines, and those are probably more powerful than the MacBook. It's just the other side of what happens with PCs that makes me nervous. With their crash rate is a little higher than a MacBook, and the internet and all that stuff that goes into that side of it. So for me, I'm just always a Mac guy, but there's no excuse to not equip yourself with these tools when your whole entire lifeblood is based on the computer. And I do a lot of outdoor gigs, and
Oh, the M1's mandatory for that. It's not even a question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking DC United, July, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun pounding on it. It's 88 degrees and humid, and the thing doesn't even, the green Serato meter never even moves. It's like that alone for me is the game changer of just the other anything after the 2013s to like 2019s, I guess, like forget it. It could be 75 if the sun is
Oh my God. I had an old 20, it was like one of the first touch bars that came out. I had a 15-inch, and I had to carry around in my backpack. I would have to carry around a gallon plastic bag, because if I did anything that was outside, I'd have to go get ice, put it in the bag, and then sit my computer on it, because it would just be done. I would always keep a gallon bag, or a gallon like Ziploc bag, in my DJ bag, because it wouldn't even be hot out, and like you're saying, it would just be like shitting out. And
well, I didn't know about the leasing thing. I do have a business account, and the business account that I have, if you spend over $5,000 on Apple products, so your phone, whatever, a year, then you start getting discounts on the computer. I mean, the computer alone, like this one that I bought, was probably like 3,400. So you're there almost right away. So
yeah, you're gonna, and for me, it's like nobody wants to just fork out $3,000 or $5,000 for computer in one shot. But like if you've been doing your stuff correctly anyway, which it should be, there should be no reason for you not to qualify for the business account and take advantage of the one I had before this, and it was same as you guys, the touch bar of death one, and like, but I got it in 2017 from them. It was a 2 terabyte solid state 15-inch, and I think I paid $108 a month for it. I mean, you're not even
that's
you're not
the
even touching anything. Yeah, I mean,
moving
so
forward, that's it. You've sold me. Leasing is the new thing. We're gonna be preaching that. So that's amazing.
So to set up an Apple account, what do you have to Apple Business? What does it technically require? Because I don't have an Apple Business account, Drew. I didn't even know this is something you do.
For me to have a business account, all it required was an email. So I have drew@thepeoplesdj.com, and that was it.
Do you have a
I'm sure they asked for more, but
do you have a bank account that's like a business account?
Yeah.
You're good then. Like you just show them that it's a business, that you're a legit. They just want to make sure you're a legit business. I mean, it doesn't take much, and you don't have to be an LLC or anything. As long as you're a sole proprietor that actually has a trade name, a business of some sort, which you do, then you can just call up the Apple Business email. Usually they'll set you up with somebody local. I'm obviously set up with one here locally, and they're super nice and friendly and will get you sorted out. And basically then it goes to a third party company that handles your finance side. It's like going to a car, going and buying a leasing a car, but then you get it from the dealership, but then it's through a different bank that's you're leased through. It's the same kind of thing. Super friendly, super easy.
Makes sense. That's
It
awesome.
does.
That's something I'm gonna have to check out. I
Great
I
tech.
have my laptop. I have this Mac Mini. My Mac Mini, I actually want to upgrade. I want to get it into a M1 here soon.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to do
Yeah.
that in the next month or so. It works fine. Obviously, all Apple computers are tanks, but I always try to have that new
Mm-hmm.
when I can. So
That's a great tip. That was one of my favorite ones here for a while. Anything left with tech? But that's an awesome one.
No, I mean, it's in terms of what I really enjoy using, like equipment wise, that's tech. I have a Rain 1 and I love it. It's been just for me, I'm a turntable guy at heart and prefer to, like, I'm doing this gig today, I'm taking the turntables out, even if it's a private event. But for the times where you're in a small space or like, when I'm flying to places and you've got to bring gear, you've got to bring a controller or something. I love the density of it, the heaviness of it, and it's the platters. I've got some custom ones, and so now with some of my corporate brands, like with the Nats or with NASCAR, I'm gonna make the records for them that really you can use it to kind of accentuate the look and appeal. Which
Yeah.
I always feel a little. I guess weird when I'm on a controller, because you're like, I'm not a controller DJ, but then you're like, shit, this controller carrying around is kind of nice sometimes. And so to have this, like, and then I don't know if you guys have seen Jazzy Jeff's video where you can modulate and put on the tone arms and turn the Rain 1 into,
Yeah.
you can do 45s on it.
One of the local guys here, Steve Dubb, we talked about him on the show. He has that, and he's sick. He plays real 45s, and
It's so dope.
I'm curious. Obviously, the Rain 1 came out first, but why you went with that over not selling it and getting the Pioneer?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like geared towards one company. I've always had Rain products. Like I started on like a 52 or something, and like in the clubs, like the Rain mixers were prevalent when I first started DJing. I had, of course, a 57, a 62. I have an S. I love my S9. I love the S11. I love the S7. The thing that sold me on the Rain over the Rev 7 partly was the time sensitivity. That one was out and I needed it, and I really needed it for what I was doing. And some of the early reports I was getting some bad feedback on the Pioneer on the Rev that like it wasn't holding up as well. Like some people were having some issues, and those maybe as a firmware update it got sorted. But you start hearing all that stuff, you're like, eh. And the main thing that sold me, the Rain 1 has feet, like turntables. It actually has feet. And so to the clean look of pulling your cables underneath of it and hiding them all is very important to me. And the Rev 7, it sits too low. You can't do that. So
one of the things, we know you're big on music, and we really wanted to talk some music with you. And we have our Serato top 5. As you know, we can play a video. We can talk some music if you're cool with that.
Hey, Tay here. Drew and Fuse, the drewiest and fusiest pair on the planet, are here to marinate your ears, marinate themselves, maybe kind of rotisserie themselves, and roll around in the ambiance of sound and music. So put on some Tay, light candles, and let's talk music.
oh my god, I remember when that came out. Wow. Things like popped in my brain that haven't in a long time from that.
Chocolate Rain.
Chocolate Rain.
We've also declared with the Victor Menego episode that Chocolate Rain is the ultimate poo break song.
Oh my goodness.
That's a must listen. So go back if you missed that one. But let's hear about your Serato top 5 or tracks you're playing, or just anything you want to talk about music wise that people should know about.
I think I'll give you guys a couple different lanes of music, of just staples that I always feel will probably be here. On the nose, pretty obvious one. If you're ever needing a parachute of a song, it seems to always work. Missy Elliott, Get Your Freak On. It's just like such a jam, and
explain parachute of a song, because I don't know that I've heard that.
Like if if you're struggling, like you're fucking free falling and losing the crowd, like that's a parachute song.
I've never heard that, and I love it so much.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying that.
Yeah, man, you need some parachutes. You always need some standing by. And it's just songs that like pretty much no matter where you're at, like you can reset the room, reset the taste, change the
Yeah.
flow. And that song pretty much is one that I always feel like just Timberland, like in his essence of just experimentalism / b-boyism / street and fun, and it's just girl power, all that stuff. Like you're not gonna lose with that song.
Yeah,
It's
All
a good
right.
one.
It's a great one.
I'm a pretty big kind of disco funk kind of guy. I've done this party for years. That's like a kind of disco boogie Wednesday night kind of it starts with like funk and soul and rare grooves and kind of moves up the tempo in that vein, ends with some like proper deep house, usually is the kind of flow. But for me, like disco specifically, boogie, that sound to me is just like it's to me it's like the same as what Bach or Mozart, like the compositions of those disco records in that time frame. You're talking like 20-30 musicians in the studio, like proper orchestras, strings, horns, like just a full composition of song. And so for me, in that vein, Shaka Khan, and it's actually called "I Know You, I Live You," and the version that I've been playing recently. Usually, it's just the original, but I had to look it up. But the Bugs in the Attic did a version of it that's just crazy funky and chopped up, and if you wanted to like take it to like a new school version. But
I'll have to
that's
check
one of
that
my
one out.
most I know you. That's like one of my most. I think it's a perfect song. It's a beautiful song. Shaka Khan is a queen and just one of the greatest vocalists of our time. And it's just such a jam.
Number 3.
I love covers, so I got to have at least one cover in there. Covers to me are like how you can really make an interesting dinner party, or like if you're like
Definitely.
a DJ that does like cocktail, like you're at a private event, you pretty much this event I'm going to do today, first 2 hours are like a swanky kind of fundraising cocktail music thing. So that could be anything from traditional jazz to like crazy weird covers of things. And so for me, one of my most, I think, powerful covers to play, because what it will get me more gigs from that song, like reoccurring gigs, or people will remember this song more than any song I've ever probably played or in some of my demo videos. But it's Paul Anka doing a cover of Wonderwall, all jazz.
Oh, wow.
And it is like,
Wow.
so I have it on vinyl actually somewhere around here, but Paul Anka did a cover album.
Yeah,
And
I play that cover album. I always play the Michael Jackson.
The Way You Make Me Feel.
That's the one I play.
Yeah.
I play
And
that one a lot.
There's
So
a Smell Like Teen Spirit one on there.
Yeah.
There's
great album.
Yeah, I mean, and but the Wonderwall, you drop that, and that's exactly the effect I'm going for, is that it's background music, but it stops people in their tracks because they know it, but they don't, and it's new and it's fresh.
Yep.
And familiar all at the same time, and it just touches all the sensories of what you would what would get you.
I'm gonna move that into the crate. I love that. That's a great one for
Yeah,
sure.
one of my favorites.
Okay.
So we did a classic, like kind of throwback 2000s hip hop. We did a cover. We did a disco. Let's see. We need like a. It's a little bit more on the nose, but I feel like I can't not say it because it's like one I play all the time. And I guess partly because I'm always playing at this point in my career, I'm playing a lot of sporting events and I'm playing a lot of private events, and you're always trying to fuse the gaps and the generations. And if you've been doing this long enough, you start to see where the pocket of the age range is and how the music shifts and changes, and what song can grab 65-year-olds and 70-year-olds and also grab 20-year-olds in the same way. And for me, that record is Daft Punk, One More Time. I mean, it's a record that I think you can go 5-6 different directions out of or into from it. it's just such a hub of a record. It's a transition spot where you can land into that spot and travel to any other direction from there. And it's still cool and hip enough that like young people dig it, and like 65-year-olds have heard it or they have a reference point to it. And
Are you playing the original? Are you playing a remix? Are you playing a short edit of it? Because it has that the
yeah, I definitely
longest
never
break
play.
of
Yeah,
all time.
I'm in and out of it
Any
before that.
song.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm definitely in and out of it before that. I tend to most of the time probably play the original, but then there's one edit that I do play. It was an edit of it's DeVille. One More Time
Oh,
into Swedish House Mafia
yeah.
1. That's
That's
a
a
fun,
fantastic edit.
that was
Yeah.
a great edit. And so like at places, and that's another great one where you can play the original, and then allows you, he's done the work for you to take it into like more of a club EDM set.
So
I
I
definitely played
used that as one of the. I mean, this was a long time ago at this point, but I remember when it first came out, I used that as 12 o'clock song for New Year's Eve, and
Yeah.
the one won the countdown.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, that's awesome.
It was big, so it was good. It's a great one, dude. Hell yeah! I have two more questions for you before we let you go. One, we actually want to talk about playing for the teams and just kind of how that goes. But you've mentioned this multiple times, and I do a Wednesday night. You're pushing Wednesday nights. Wednesday night is basically almost the night that no one goes out, right? It's the Sunday for nightlife, is how I like to always say it. It's the night everyone stays home. If you work nightlife, you're going to go out Sunday night. You'll definitely stay home Wednesday night because you went out Tuesday, you went out Thursday, you're going to go out Thursday.
Mhm.
Wednesday is just that. It's impossible.
Mhm.
I finally have one right now that I think is the best I've ever been a part of. So I'm curious about your push for this. I just got to know.
Oh no, it's great. Okay, so it does backstory on like that was the night that I fell in love with, everything I did, and like
Yep.
as a professional, I guess you could say, as like, okay, I never thought of doing this for a career. I just thought I would always do this, and that's it. And you never, like, as a teenager, you're not thinking money or anything. You're just thinking this is what I do. And then you get to like 20 and you're like, oh man, like I got to figure something out with my life, and
Well, that's everybody else telling you that. That's not what you're in your mind, because you're in 20 and everyone's going, you're not going to just keep doing this. And you're like, oh, I thought I could. I hadn't planned that far ahead. So
exactly.
then it's you fighting that part, and then you get over it and you're like, well, I'm just going to keep doing it because it's great.
That's it. Exactly. And like, so for me, that Wednesday Sound Factory bar party was just like the essence of everything I loved about the culture and the music and DJing. And so when I moved back to DC from New York, my buddies who we started this party with, there was already a really established Friday night party, and there was all the one-off parties on Saturday. So doing like a consistent Saturday party just didn't seem like a smart move. And we wanted to have enough space away from the Friday party because we felt like some of that same crowd would probably, it was like our older friends of ours that did the other party, and we didn't want to be too close to them, but like, so we were trying to be respectful enough to stay away from them. And I was like, well, I love Wednesday, and it just happened. And so we started this Wednesday, and we did that for years and years. And then that's the reason I've always loved Wednesday, is kind of everything you were saying. Nobody goes out that night. So the people that do come out that night really want to be there, and they really are coming
That's
to check.
a good point.
And it allows you, if you can build it, they will come kind of mentality. Like, you can make something special out of it because you don't have to play the weekend music, and you can connect with people on a more emotional scale with your music selections because you have a little bit more range to do that, so.
I feel that way on my Wednesday, and I didn't put it that way, but I do feel I'm not really playing any big hits. I got to have a little bit of some transitions in there to tie it all together, but I'm not playing any like real hits, just a vibe. The whole night's a vibe.
Yeah.
So I connect with you on that. What I'd like to know is maybe if you're okay sharing it, like with that secret to get people to just go, okay, fuck it, I'll go out on Wednesday. I didn't want to, and I know it's a good party, but it's cold tonight. I gotta stay home. Like, how? Maybe it's like just Maybe it's a shot special. Maybe it's something else. I don't know, but I'm just a little fascinated by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what's always helped me was I'm always a share the love kind of person. Like I don't think I've ever built anything on my own, and I don't feel like I should really take credit for anything on my own. And when I get something, I try to share it with lots of people. And I feel like the way to stay in this game a long time is to never be greedy and to, always show love to people. And I feel like I can relate to certain people or times in my life that if this went to a different direction, we're not even on this podcast together right now. So, and I can look back at those times. So I always try to have like a grateful heart. And so for me, the Wednesday success was by spreading the love and sharing the love and like bringing in some other DJs or bringing like I was working with. There's a reggae band in the room. They have like a whole their own crowd and like in this whole other floor. So create like and like with the Wednesdays, it was hip hop, it was drum and bass, it was house. It wasn't just one thing. There was reasons for people of different walks of life to come under the same roof for the same reason, but maybe on a different tone that they were looking for.
So that's great. Yeah, great advice. It's a great night, and I do agree with you. The people that want to go out are there. They're just like, I'm in. So
Yep. And it's always going to catch and you'll have lightning in a bottle every once in a while where like some random Veterans Day, at least in DC we get these federal holidays all the time, so it's like Veterans Day will be on a Thursday, so Wednesday becomes like a club night. Or
right.
Wednesday, and what I would say too is build your foundation on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
like
biggest night.
do your best night, do your best thing, but be you, be like represent what you want people to see from you following that night, not cater to the fact that you're banging that night and it's the most people you've seen and fall into the trap of now I have to play like it's a Friday. Give them what you want them to see next week. So take that risk and that leap of faith that the music that you want to show them, you might make 50% of the people be like, man, this DJ is like, I don't feel him. Well, good, get out, like leave, because you're only here because it's a pseudo amateur night anyway. But for the other ones that connect with you and are like, I love this, and they're like, damn, he's here every Wednesday, I'm going to come back. And you're not going to get everybody to come every Wednesday. It's impossible. But if you build enough of a following that you can, modulate who's coming each week and have enough there always to keep it going, then you'll be good. I always connect with dancers. That's my part of my background. So, I'll always have the B-boys coming out and like the house heads and people really want to get lost in music. I don't know if this is for you guys, and maybe, I think three of us share a lot of similar backstories and just understanding like we're all capable of expressing our emotions and knowing what we've been through and how it resonates and how it moves us forward. But I can't count how many times, especially on that Wednesday, that someone will come up to me at the end of the night and go, I needed this tonight. Like I'm going through something bad. And like I got lost in that corner and danced for the last 2 hours and sweated my frustration out. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's really what it's all about.
I love that, dude. Are you still playing drum and bass, or has it evolved over the year?
I never played a lot of drum and bass myself. I just always would have the best drum and bass dudes in that room doing their thing. Gotcha. And that's what I mean. It's like, for me, it's not like get the people that are best at what they do to do what they do. Like when I do private events, I don't do lighting because I'm not a lighting dude. Like if you want to hire me, you're not getting lights. Like hire the lighting dude. He's a professional lighting guy. I'm not. I'm a professional DJ. But like, and the same thing with like drum and bass, house, whatever. If you can't, I'm not going to try to pretend what I'm not. I'm going to let the other lift up somebody that needs that space and themselves. And certainly like I played some drum and bass records and I do like it, but I was never like a drum and bass dude. Sure.
You're Bob's Chili. You're not Denny's, right? You want to go to the one spot that does it real fucking good, but you don't want to go to the spot that does everything really bad.
Cheesecake Factory.
Oh God, fuck the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
Awful.
98-page menu.
Dude, get out of here.
I always tell my girlfriend when she's like pissing me off, I'm always like, I'm gonna go down to the Cheesecake Factory and have a drink, because he says that in Step Brothers. The dad says that in Step Brothers, and I always think that that's like the funniest little like subtle line in the movie. He's just so frustrated. He's like, I'm going to the Cheesecake Factory to have a drink. Like, so whenever I'm like mad at her, I'm like, I'm about to go to the Cheesecake Factory to have a drink.
Well, you're a fascinating person. We could talk all day and all night. I know you have to go, but maybe there's a
I got
don't
I got a few more minutes. We're good.
We just wanted to touch on, we kind of skipped over it, but you're the official DJ for the Washington Nationals, DC United, Washington Spirit. Maybe just touch on that a little bit. What it's like to be a DJ for a major league sports team.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me growing up, I wanted to be a baseball player. Like probably a good majority of kids, if you played sports, you're like, oh, I'm gonna be in the NFL, I'm gonna be in the NBA, and then like really quickly you realize that that's not happening. But my love of sports and music are kind of intertwined, and we never had a baseball team growing up here, which is a whole other couch session with a shrink because baseball is my favorite sport. And so not having a baseball team growing up here was kind of tragic in a lot of ways. And but as a young DJ and one of my best bud, Danny, who's my partner with a lot of our sports stuff, Danny is in a rap group called Team Demolition. Like in the early 90s, they were, right now they have, at his studio Depth Charge Recordings, he's got platinum plaques on the wall. He's produced songs for 50 Cent, for tons of Interscope artists, beat nuts, like all these people. He's also a studio nerd, a studio engineer in A1, and one of my best friends. And like we would be always sitting around going, if we ever got a baseball team, we have to do the music. Like we have to do the music.
Yeah.
And
what year is this?
Oh, that was probably mid 90s. The team came.
No, the team came. What year?
Yeah, the team came in 2005, and neither one of us had any ends to the team at all. And we went to the game, like the very first game, we got tickets, and like we were there together.
Wait,
like,
sorry to interrupt. Did you have a team before? Or
no, we never. So the last team that was here in Washington was in the 70s, and then they became I think the Twins. It's either the Twins or the Rangers. One of those two franchises left.
Well, did you have a favorite team though?
Not necessarily. I was a Yankees fan growing up, but that's
Right.
only out of default of like not having a team at home,
Right.
And then I would like go on talk radio shows and like at 3 a.m. after gigs and talk to sports radio guys about like, we need a baseball team in DC, damn it, and like and I was always like to all my friends, like, I'll swear off the Yankees if you give me a team or whatever. So the team came here in 2005, and just as a fan of baseball, I was just so thrilled. And me and my buddy Danny, we went to all the as many games as we could. And then that same season, I got approached by some people in the marketing department. Just so again, these are these scenarios. I was at a Wizards playoff game. It was the Wizards and the Heat when Shaq was on the Heat. My buddy Chachi, who ran a bunch of the clubs I DJ'd for, had Budweiser comp tickets. So he brought me with him to the game. Shout out to Chachi. He's like one of the dudes, another of these pillars of people that I'm not sitting on this podcast if it wasn't for him. And so he brings me to this game, and it just so happens the people we're sitting next to are these two girls that are the marketing department at the Nats. And we're just through our random conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm a DJ, blah, blah. And they're like, where do you DJ? I'm like, I DJ this Club Modern in Georgetown. They're like, oh my God, we go there every weekend. That's our favorite spot. Holy shit. All right, we want to do some parties with you at the Nats. And like it started as me just kind of showing up for some one-offs and some corporate kind of things. And then when they got the new stadium in 2008, they bumped me up to kind of the party DJ, where they'd have me at almost every game somewhere different around the stadium, wherever they wanted to kind of show some activation. And I was like the pre-party warm-up DJ. And then they got me into the doing player walk-up music, just as natural progression. So I've been there since 2008. DC United, all the NASCAR, all that's just kind of a rippling effect from that Nats gig. Yeah. And sports are different, and it's fun at the same time. Like I always tell people, when you're a DJ in a club or a dance floor setting or an environment like that, you're kind of driving the storyline. Like you can push the storyline. You can clear the dance floor and make people go to the bar, or you can make the dance floor, everybody get on the dance floor. You have that power to manipulate the crowd. But when you're DJing sports, it's all reactive. So everything happens in front of you, and then you have to react in the moment to the appropriate thing to do. So if the team strikes out, you're going to do something totally different than if the guy hits a double. You're going to do totally different if he walks. You're going to do something totally different if he hits a home run, or if it's a foul ball. It's like there's 6 or 7 different scenarios that can happen in that split second, and you have to hit it.
It's a lot of prep.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, baseball's my favorite sport too. And it wasn't really until more adult years. As a kid, I always enjoyed it, but I couldn't tell you then that it was my favorite sport and why, But now as an adult, I could tell you it's my favorite sport and all the reasons why. So I know you're short on time and we're short on time, but I know you're going to be at DJC, so we'll talk then about it. And because
Like,
I have
yeah,
some questions, I always like asking other people that are into baseball some questions. So
heck yeah,
uh,
I love that.
yeah.
What now? Have you ever worked for the Reds or tried to go in there?
No, no, I haven't done anything for the Reds. They had a guy for a while. His name was DJ E Train. He's a local guy, and I don't know if he's still doing stuff for them or not. I had like a small season ticket package for this year, and I only saw him once or twice there this year, and he was just doing like MC stuff between like some of the innings, like like the fan games and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
And that's it. But previous years, he was like doing some DJ stuff. So I don't really know what the Cincinnati's weird. I feel like even for me, like it's hard to get certain things because it's such like a big small town, and it's very like. And I'm sure you get that too. It's like, oh, this person knows that person, and then that they're the end. And then I'm like, that's cool. Like I have my lane,
Yeah, yeah. No, but just knowing, like I was telling you before when we were jumping on, like how many of your edits I have in my Serato as it is, like your musical acumen and the fact you say you like the sport, you'd probably be really good at it because it takes somebody that not only understands the sport and understands like all the different things that could happen in this next 7 seconds, and
Yeah.
then knows the music to play with it. It's a very and I think more and more teams are starting to realize that, and so they're trying to find higher level DJs, not just like more engineer kind of guys that sit there and a producer tells them what to play. They're realizing that if they get the right crew in there, you can get the DJs to really take over and make a great show out of it, because it is skewing more to, and we were the first team to do this because our CEO at the time, she came from the NBA background. And if you've been to an NBA game, music plays constantly.
Yeah, it's like more of a party at an NBA game than a baseball game for sure.
Right. And her philosophy was there's too many young people coming to these games that can't, if you're not passionate about baseball, you're like, this is cool, we're out drinking, we're talking, but like you need to make it more fun and more interactive and more musical interludes and things like that. So she was really pushing that on us, and she challenged us to create like a new way to do baseball, and we did it. And then all the other teams would start bringing their producers down to see our setup, to see all the different machines we're using, how we're doing it. And like my boss would always be like, I tell everybody that's me in that city, you need to find real DJs that love baseball, and you can do it. So it's changing. You never know. They might look you up.
I would love that.
I have a random question. For knowing how busy you are, how do you juggle being at all the games on top of your schedule?
I'm not at all the games. That's the easy
Okay.
question.
There it is.
No,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, Danny and I share the load. He takes the lion's share, and then we have like one other person that will come in. We have a lot of things that we overlap on. So a lot of times at DC United games, he'll be the A1 running the board and the TV mix and everything, and I'm the DJ. And then at Nats games, we have a separate A1. So that allows us to kind of move around. And he's like no wife, or he has a wife but no kids. So it works out for him to do like, probably like 65% of the game. So I just do the other ones. And then, that's, to me, that's the whole thing. Is like, again, spread the love. I had the job first, and then my boss was like, "Hey, do you know anybody else that?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I think I can find a person or two." And like he did not know for 2 years I've been trying to get Danny in the door and just waiting for the time,
I love that that attitude. I always tell Drew when he calls me with something new that he's got going on. I'm like, dude, I feel like I just got the gig because you got it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And like, if you keep that attitude, like
That's
for
right.
guys here with like what I'm doing currently, they're like, well, I want to come play here. Or I'm like, well, you can't because I play here. And like, but like the next spot opens, like, there's going to be a opening, so, it's there's only so much you can do, but sharing the love is a great thing. Especially me and Drew always talk about like sharing the love with people that are givers too, not just takers. There's so
Yes.
many takers in our industry that just
Any
expect,
industry.
yeah, totally, that just come with their hands out. They always want something, like, whether it's, hey man, let me get that edit, and it's like, bro, I'm not giving you this edit because I made this one just for me because I put out all the other ones,
Mhm.
like, so learn how to make your own. And then maybe I'll start sharing more of the ones that I don't post with you, like,
Yeah.
stop being such a taker from the culture always.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think that's for me why it's always been important to lift someone up or give someone an opportunity, because I've been given opportunities. We've all been given opportunities. Nobody has done it on their own. And sure, it's what you do with your opportunities. When you get an opportunity, are you going to fumble it, or are you going to thrive through it? And for me, I think the last 10 years really, and as we get older and you figure it out, you realize I can't be in all these places at one time. So
Fuck
I got
that.
to get a crew, and like, and it's all about connecting with like-minded guys like you guys, where you can say to one of your clients, like, yeah, I can get you a DJ in Cincinnati. I know exactly who I'm going to get you. And to me, that's what I've always kind of felt is one of my strengths, is a network. I like to network with people. I like to build true relationships with people. And then when I have opportunities, it's so much easier if you're already doing a bunch of stuff with these guys, is just to be like, hey, I've got this thing too. And you've already built a core, and you're giving them good work, and you're trusting them that they're not going to dick you over, and that you're putting people in the place that are going to represent you well professionally and do a good job and grow and help you grow, and everyone can eat. And I'm always very transparent about my gigs with people. Like, I tell them how much I'm getting, what my cut is, how much they're getting. It's just always very upfront, and I'm not a booking agency that's trying to be 50% and you take 50. I'm like, no, you're doing most of the work. I'm just the plug here, and I'm just going to take what a plug's cut of this is. The DJ still deserves the majority lion's share of the money, or you're not going to get the quality person to do that job. Because these
Totally.
companies are going to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars unless you are faking it really well on social media, or you are like a legit, really, Questlove or somebody that can command like big money. It's
Yeah,
Diplo, somebody, that has a caliber when they do private events that people are like, oh, well, this guy does all this stuff. But we're like pretty much, local DJs to a degree that have just figured out how to use technology and the where we are in life now to kind of move around a little bit. But like at the end of the day, we're just local DJs. That's how I look
totally,
at myself. And
completely.
and it's like, so you link with all those like-minded people in other cities, and when you connect, that's just how I came up. That's how we used to do all those warehouse parties. We would sit at one of these parties, and the guys in Boston would be like, I'll take this weekend. The guys in Long Island would say, we'll take this weekend. Guys in Baltimore would say, we'll take this weekend. And here you have the next 6 weeks plotted, and everybody is like going to each person's party and supporting each thing. And you've got this kind of utopian way of doing things. But everybody, at the end of the day, we're not unrealistic. We're all trying to earn money and make money, but you don't have to make that the kind of the forefront of how you do it. Like you were saying before, if you're doing it strictly because of the money, it's never going to be, what it could truly be. You're always going to be somewhat unbalanced in the effect. And so, like, yeah, do what you do and the money will be there, and it's fine. It doesn't have to be what, creates all this tension and drama. If you take that out of it from the beginning and are honest with people, it's amazing how creating that trust and people that are like, man, I like this gig. It's a good gig, and I'm getting paid well, and I can use this gig to get other gigs. And when they see the full picture, and you get with people that are trying to play the long game together, you guys, everybody can do well, and find, that we're sitting here as getting grown ass men that are still living kids' dreams,
Totally.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
That's
Hey, dude,
awesome. Well,
this was an awesome episode, man. I thank you so
yeah,
much for being on, dude.
Thank you guys, man. Thanks for having
Incredible,
me.
man.
Really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
looking forward to getting to hang at DJC and chatting it
Yeah.
up more there. Hit everybody with your socials, where they can find you, anything you want to promote.
Cool. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. It's just at Stylus Chris, StylusChris, pretty much on all social. I'm pretty much never on it, but you can always hit me there. I will respond. I just don't post much. I haven't figured out how to make my daughter an intern yet and make her come around all my gigs and film me, because she knows how to do that really well. But yeah, and Stylus Chris everything. And really right now I'm just hoping to connect with you guys at DJC and check out the all the other nerds that we're gonna 4 days of DJ nerdship.
Yeah.
Totally. Are you coming in on Sunday?
I'm coming in Monday early.
Monday. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Me and Drew are going in Sunday, so
Nice.
we'll definitely have to link up Monday.
Yeah, I'll be in Monday for sure. I'm on a crazy bender. I'm flying Wednesday to Denver and then out in Wyoming for a few days for a couple private events, and then in Chicago and then Notre Dame for an event. Home Sunday for one day, and then to Nashville. So it's
Yeah, that's a
Fly
lot.
more. It sounds like you fly more than I do. That's awesome.
You're making me tired. Yeah.
man.
I'm tired already.
Technology. Other thing I always do, not for this call, but I always set timers. So like to manage time, you need timers. And like I'll say I'm gonna spend the next 15 minutes answering as many emails as I can. And when that timer goes off, I gotta do something else. Every day I sit with a to-do list and I kind of rank it by what needs to get done, and you just tap it out. It's the only way to stay floating, treading water in this rapid.
It's true.
Yeah,
well, thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And before we go, guys, make sure you hit that YOLO line, 562-246-YOLO, with any questions, any drunk dials, your favorite guacamole recipe, all that stuff.
Oh, and I got my Mambo edit number 5. It's the Bad Bunny remix reggaeton version.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Make sure you're rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcast. Make sure you check out Club Cannon, the Photo Booth Supply. Make sure you're using Direct Music Service, that Drew and Few Show promo code. Yeah, see, we're not just lying to you guys to get you to go
we didn't
use
even
it.
get to talk about that, so I have to pause for 1 second and say shout out to Direct Music Service, because certainly in the early years of like the very first iteration of Serato, getting music and trying to get it proper, always at the forefront. Like the best, like not the obvious shit either, the good shit DJs need, like the things that can change you as a DJ, especially those like 2012 years. I remember this. Shout out to Simo, man. Like all
He's in
those
Cincy, yeah, he's here.
Yeah.
all the funk, all those really cool indie dance records and things. Like always just such a great pool for music lovers. If you love music, get in Direct Music Service.
Awesome.
There you go.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the plug right there.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
Peace.